My lords, ladies and gentlemen, Konichiwa, and welcome to the start of a brand new Transport Fever 2 Let's Play series. As we discussed at the end of the last series, this time we are heading over to Asia, and we are heading to Japan. Now this is going to be using a custom made map that is available on the Steam Workshop, and the map title is the Gorges of Shikoku. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. Either way, the map will be linked in the description below, should anyone want to download it themselves and have a playthrough on the same map, then obviously you're more than able to do that. What I'm also going to do is the long list of mods here that we have enabled for this series. I will export them to a mod pack on the Steam Workshop and share that as and when it is ready. It may take a few days to get them all compiled, but as soon as it's done, share it on the workshop and then I'll put a link to it in future video descriptions, and I will also come back and retrospectively add it to any videos that were published before I managed to get the mod list together. With regards to this series itself, here's some pertinent details up in the top. The map size is Megalomaniac and it is a 1:1 ratio. We start in 1850. And we have 5 million yen, and as you can see I have gone through and changed the currency icon, not outcome. Yes, I've changed the currency icon in preparation for this series to make it just a tiny bit more immersive. You will also notice we're going on easy difficulty this time around. We did hard mode last time, and I figure since we've done that, let's give ourselves a bit more breathing room, shall we say, when it comes to our company and our infrastructure, and using easy mode allows us a lot more creative freedom and flexibility, and we don't have to be as overly concerned about the efficiency of our lines. Obviously we like them to be efficient as we can, but it's not the be all and end all anymore, and we can afford to be a little bit more indulgent when it comes to setting up our lines and the vehicles or the trains, the consists that we are using. Now this map is based in Japan, of course. I'm no Japanese speaker, so if I go through and mispronounce the town names and the likes, I do apologise in advance. If you are a native Japanese speaker or you've studied the language itself and you want to correct my mispronunciations, then please leave comments down below, of course, and I will endeavour to teach myself the correct pronunciations on any towns that I do get incorrect. So here we go then, here's our map. We can see it's a large, fairly mountainous map, and we have a lot of forest scattered over the map, but at the same time we also have these nice open plains running through these valleys through the centre of the map, so there is scope to build some nice straight railways through there. I have noticed in testing that these quote unquote rivers that are running through these valleys, they are not actually proper rivers, so to speak. This is a terrain paint tool where you can paint water onto the terrain. So that's not water as the game would ordinarily consider it. It is just painted terrain. That can lead to issues when it comes to building bridges over this, because it will just try and raise the terrain up. And I'll show you what I mean by that very quickly so you can see the sort of thing we have to deal with from time to time. Yes, that's not how rivers do in real life. So building bridges is going to take a little bit more thought and ingenuity, but I'm sure that we can overcome that little challenge. So yes, as we can see, it is a very substantial map and there's a lot of wilderness around. And there is a lot of scope for mountain railways and railways that will follow the peaks and troughs of these valleys, sticking to the contours of the land. Of course, being on easy mode, we can afford to do extensive terraforming. Because we can afford to treat ourselves to some extensive terraforming, it should make the laying of quite a few of the railways that little bit easier. But of course we are going to try and blend a balance between over the top terraforming and having it just follow the contours too strictly. So here's the map then. As we can see, it's a very good looking map. Full credit to the mod author for this. They've done a superb job. I don't know, and you must pardon my ignorance here, but I don't know if Shikoku is one of the islands of Japan, and if it is, I don't know how true to life this map recreation is. I will go away between episodes and do a bit of research on that. Regardless, it is a very good looking map and it's going to pose some challenges, but it's not going to be overly difficult, I shouldn't think. Especially not playing on easy mode, of course. So all that out of the way, what we need to do now is make a start, of course. And I'm trying to, just as I'm going over the map here, look for an area, what would look like a logical and productive starting point. Now, being easy mode, we could start with passenger lines, although with the towns in their initial growth state, 52 residents for example, 122 in Sayo, Yamada has 53, Akanmar has 54, we're not going to get a lot of passenger generation until we start supplying these towns with the goods that they require. So I think we'll go for the usual start, and we will start by laying down some cargo infrastructure and supplying one of the towns with at least one of the goods that they require to stimulate growth. So which industry chain do we want to start with then? What would be relatively straightforward, shall we say? Well, we could run... as you notice here, the industry text boxes are all in, and I believe that is French. So as I'm going through, I will change these to their English equivalent. I'm not going to do them all in one go. What we'll do is, as and when we interact with the industry, that is when we're going to look to change its name to the English equivalent. Now we have the town here of Uejima, and looking at the size of it, it's quite a substantial town, and given these industries we have very nearby, I think this is more than likely going to be our capital for this series. It's more than likely the largest town at the start, and we have some interesting opportunities around here and around here for some large cargo interchanges, which could be very interesting to play about with, sort of like we did with the Calgary freight yard, where we had the 4 industries just on the outskirts of Calgary. So if we want to focus on Uejima, then one of the first goods we could easily supply is the food. We have a farm nestled up here in these mountains, in this little valley. I like the way they've tried to replicate a rice paddy. That looks very, very good. That's kudos to the map developer there for that one. But yes, we have the farm here, and we also have a food production plant just outside of the valley, and then it's a relatively straight shot into Uejima. And we could also have a little road freight line that heads into Iwainamori. I apologise if that's incorrect pronunciation. As I said earlier, I'm not a native speaker. And I think what we could do here is we could have the wheat stroke grain hauled down via some horse and carts. It's not a long distance. How's the elevation? It's not too challenging, not for the early game horse and carts, of course. That's one thing we need to be mindful of being in 1850, is the exceptionally low power of all of our vehicles, but I don't think the initial starting horse and carts would struggle with that incline. So we could, yes, run a horse and cart line to deliver the raw ingredients into the food production plant. And then we could then have a cargo rail line that runs down towards Uwajima. And if we wanted to turn this into a major freight hub, what's the terrain like here? Could we put a large cargo station here? Perhaps not, because it's nestled quite snugly into this hillside here, as we can see. So there's no real scope for a large cargo interchange here, not without some exceptionally extensive terrain modification, of course. But we do have this lovely flat spit of land here. So we could have a large station here that handles a lot of the incoming and outgoing goods for these various industries, as well as for the town of Uwajima. And then obviously there would more than likely not be a connection between here and these industries, so we'd have to have some intermediate road vehicles for the final leg, but I don't think that should be too much of a problem. So with that in mind, if we were to have our cargo station on this little beachhead here, we'd want 320 meters almost immediately. The trouble we're going to have with this is the angle of attack for the station and the train lines, because if we're coming from this direction up here, our lines would be running down here in this area, and the only options we would have then are to come straight through the town, which is something we'd like to avoid if we can, or trying to get through here somewhere, which would be quite awkward. What we could do instead is have a freight station in this area, perhaps pointing this way, and the lines would then skirt around the edge of Uwajima, heading up to the food production plant. And what we could then do is have, because we're limited as to how many platforms you can actually put per station, we likely end up with a scenario where we have maybe 2 full-size stations, because we'd also use these stations to bring the goods into Izumiyachi, as well as all these various industries here, as well as the town of Ura, and of course Uwajima. So it would be a very, very, very busy little freight station, and I use the word little very, very loosely, of course. It would be quite large. We have a lot of space here, so we could have a drop-off point just for the town of Uwajima and maybe these industries here, with the lines then continuing on, and another station somewhere else to handle all of this. So yes, there's already quite a bit to think about with this, isn't there? It's not as straightforward as you might initially think when you consider where your lines are going to run in the future, how many lines you're going to have coming in. I mean, if we look here, for instance, we've got 1, 2, although they are the same industry, so one station could serve both, because we'd just be bringing in the crude oil and shipping the refined. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, again because they're the same, 6 industries. We have 2 goods here, 2 goods here, 2 goods here. So between these 6 goods that are required for these 3 towns, we have no duplicates. So we would need quite a lot of platform space, because we'd need the oil coming in. Although saying that, we'd ship the crude oil in, of course, and the refined oil could just be taken by road vehicle, because it's not going too far to get it to these 2 refineries here, so that would be okay. The tools would just be shipped by road vehicle. Again, it's not going too far, so that would be fine. The fuel could be shipped by road as well, as could the bricks. The goods also could be shipped by road. It's not too far to get over to there. Yes, and yeah, we've already covered the bricks, so we wouldn't need a station for this. We wouldn't need a station for this, but we would need one for the food and the machinery into Uwajima. Well, I do think that we could manage that relatively easily. I don't think it's going to be as bad as you first think. So yes, enough waffle, let's put ourselves down a cargo station. Initially, we'll just have a single track. And where do we want to put it? Do we want to put it over here? Yeah, we'll have it over... Oh, that's quite close to the food production plant. I think what we'll do is there's nothing back down there, is there? No. And there's a town there of Kushima, but that would be more than likely handled by ships. So I think we'll have a terminus station down here. And we'll put it on this spit of land here. And what we want to be careful of course, is where the tracks are going to run, because we want to go this way and then bear right over to the food production facility just up there. So if we put it like that, perhaps, and we'll immediately give this a new name. And this will be the Uwajima Freight Exchange. We would need a road vehicle. We would need a road line accessing this, of course. So we would have the connection road there. And then, of course, we don't want to go straight up here because that would block in any future platform expansion. So instead, we will head away from the station, leaving ourselves plenty of room to expand in the future if we need to. And then we'll just have it connecting over here like that. So it wouldn't be a direct route into Iwajima. Obviously, the most direct route is to build a road straight up to here. So the delivery vehicles are going to have to go a little bit out of their way to get down here, but that should be fine. So with that station constructed, let's move over to the food processing plant here. And we now need to try and figure out where we're going to put in this station. This side of the road, I imagine, would be far too expensive, or the terrain would look a little bit bizarre. Saying that, it doesn't look too bad. Yeah, we'll go for that. And we'll call this Iwanamori Food Production. And we'll also rename this station here. Now, here's the million-dollar question. Could I spell that without looking at it? More than likely not. So let's zoom out so we can see the town nameplate. And then I can just copy over and I won't make any mistakes. There we go. So that's the Iwanamori Food Production Plant there. Alright, let's get these rails connected. We're going to need to increase our loan straight off the bat, but that's fine. We're on easy mode. It's no big drama. And let's put in a track. Now we're just going to use single track initially. There's no point doubling it up unnecessarily. And even when we do start running multiple trains along this line, all we'll do is put in a few passing loops. Because I'd like to keep... That's not to save money or anything, but that's just to keep it looking very basic, very... what's the correct term I'm looking for? Not basic. Like we're just starting out, I suppose, if that makes sense. Anyway, we need to head up this way because we need to, if we can, bypass as much of the town of Iwajima as possible. And what I'm tempted to do, yes, we should be able to do it, is go into a tunnel through all of this. Like that. Because then when the town of Iwajima expands, if it expands this way, the emission levels are going to be reduced because our trains will be passing through a tunnel. So there we go. So it's expensive. That tunnel is bizarre. So let's just, maybe we'll redo that, shall we? So the tunnel isn't invisible. Right, there we go. Is that all of the tunnel? Yes, it is. So let's just reconnect that. And make sure we actually change the tunnel type here. Yes, we don't want an invisible tunnel. We'll have the default vanilla tunnel. That's better. Yes, no invisible tunnels here, please. Anyway, let's crack on. Let's get this brought down. Heading this way. Keeping that speed as high as we can, of course. And of course, by skirting out even further, we're giving Iwajima a lot more room to expand and to grow before it gets too close to our cargo line. Problem now is we've left ourselves with an exceptionally tight angle to try and get that in. Let's see if we can do it here, keeping it nice and tidy. Well, there you go. We didn't lose any speed. Does it look okay? The level crossing may need some work, but that's fine. Yeah, that looks okay. Take it. There we go. Does it look okay? Let's have a look. Yeah, that looks fine. The level crossing doesn't look like it has any weird bumps as far as the track's concerned. Same here. It doesn't look like we're going up and down, so that's fine. Wonderful. Now we're going to need a depot, of course. And I'm quite tempted in this series to see if we can just stick to one depot for our entire network, and that also includes our passenger lines. Now the added benefit to that, well, it's not really a benefit, it makes no difference, but it guarantees that all of the tracks that we lay have interconnectivity to one extent or another. So everything remains connected and as part of one huge network, even if we do end up with separate passenger and freight lines. It just means that there is a way, should we ever need to get our passenger trains onto the freight lines and vice versa. Not that we should ever really need to be looking to do that, of course. Anyway, there's that first line ready to go, but we're not going to set it up yet because we have no wheat being brought down here, and this is going to sit nice and idle while our train sits idle because there's nothing being produced, of course. So we'll use this farm up here to start with, and again we'll just quickly rename that. Now it's got the town name of Shingu, and I don't see it unless in reality there's a town here called Shingu. Perhaps we'll just swap it out for the nearest town, which I would say is Iwanomori. And I'm probably spelling this all wrong because I'm trying to do it from memory. I wasn't too far off, I just missed an O. There we go. And we'll call this Rice Fields because clearly the map author has intended this to be a rice paddy like this one here. So we'll stick with that and we'll call it Rice Fields. Right, now let's put in... That's the wrong tab. Well done. Yes, let's put in a truck station. We could go for one of these if we wanted to. We wouldn't need... Well, we need one terminal. Let's put it the other way around. No, that's way around was correct. We don't need tram lines, of course. How does that look? Does it look okay, that? It doesn't look bad, to be honest. Something a bit different. Capacity per platform, 84. Does this increase the length? It does. Oh, we can almost get it so both of them connect together at once. Or maybe not. Let's just zoom out a bit here. No, it looks like we're going to have to do it manually. There we go. Let's just quickly rename that as well to the Rice Fields. That looks quite nice, actually. I'm quite impressed with that. I've never used that mod before. Yes, kudos on that one. It's something a little bit different. And again, we're in the wrong tab. Right, what we're trying to do here, of course, is just get this connected in to the main access road here so the trucks can actually get in and out of this station. There we go. Perfect. I'm just going to very quickly terraform just along the edge here just to smooth some of that terrain artifact out. Okay, that's not quite doing what I wanted to do, so I'll flatten it out first and then blend it, and that should be a lot better. There, that's a lot nicer. How does that look? Yeah, it's not bad. It'll do. Right, enough about that. So our trucks are going to come down here. Now, initially, we're just going to have these use an unload point rather than an actual station. And we'll give them a little loop here. Like that. And this is where we'll put our unload station, just there. And now we can set up that line. Of course, we're going to need a road vehicle depot, so let's put that in before we forget. And let's put that in, stay connected if you can, there. So it almost looks like it's part of the food plant. Right, nope, we need to build the line first, don't we? Of course we do. Right, so we're coming from the rice fields to there and back again. And it's automatically looped through, which is great. Now we want to change the colour, and we'll use that colour there. They want to be fully loaded up at the rice fields, of course. There we go. And let's give this a quick name, and we'll call this... we'll call it rice. Yeah, rice haulage. Here comes the tricky town name, Iwanomori. Yeah, that'll do. I think I've got it right. Yeah, go for it. Rice haulage, Iwanomori. Right, let's get some road vehicles here. Cargo, horse-drawn carriage, and we'll start with... we'll go for 10 of those. They don't have the biggest capacity and they're not the fastest, so yeah, we'll start with 10. So that's them on the way. Let's get the date rolling, shall we? We'll stick to 1/4 speed, but we will have it at 2 times acceleration just because the vehicles are that slow in the early game. In fact, no, we'll stick to 1. We'll take our time. We'll relax into it. Have a little look at the horse and carts as they head out on their way. Our very first vehicle, well, road vehicle number 9, the first one out of the depot. Marvellous. Got quite a nice view. This little valley area is quite pleasant, so the drivers are quite lucky in that respect. Anyway, enough about that. What we can do now is begin work on our freight line, which is coming all the way through into here. And again, we want this to be fully loaded over there, carrying the food. There we go. And this will be our food freight. And this is going from Iwanomori to Uwajima. Perfect. Now before we get the train, let's put a delivery line in as well. Let's use this road station again because this was quite nice. I quite enjoyed this one. And let's put it over here. Turn it that way. Might even be able to get both connections in at once if we're lucky. Too much slope, collision. Alright, we're doing it ourselves, are we? That's fine. If we put it... yeah, we'll put it there. We've blocked ourselves in for any further expansion, of course, but that's fine. And this is the Uwajima Freight Exchange. I believe that's what we called this station. Indeed we did. Let's put the road lines in now. That should have an active connection to the station. It does not. Right. So we're going to have to redo that. Or what we could do, this might work. Oh no, you can't edit the size. Right. We'll use a default station for this then. Just so we can expand it in the future. So yeah, we'll have the default truck station. We only want one platform for now though, but we will have 30 meters. And we'll put that there. Then we can see it's got that connection that we're looking for. There we go. It's already copied the name over, Uwajima Freight Exchange. Yes, we want to configure it because we want a second road exiting the station. Let's put our connection lines in there and there. Quickly terraform over here just to, and again we might have to flatten it before we do the blending. Oh, it's all sorts of wrong. That's clearly quite a steep elevation change over there. That looks better. There we go. And then we want the drop-off point in the town of Uwajima itself. Let's just have a quick look here. Where are they wanting the food to be delivered to? Here's the commercial district up here. So we'll have it drop off there. Let's get rid of those floating point numbers, shall we? There we go. Right, now we want the line. So we're going from the freight exchange into Uwajima. We can sort that out later on. You're carrying food, so you're that colour, fully loaded, and you're only taking food. And this is our food delivery for Uwajima. Wonderful. We don't want to use that depot. We'll put a second depot down here, just there. And how many of these do we want for this? I'm going to say we'll have 4. Again, give them the paint job, set them on the line, and now we can buy the train up here. So locomotives, well, we're spoilt for choice here. It's got to be the Russian Class 5 Type 1. So we'll add one of those on. Cargo, we are carrying food, so we want the boxcar. Okay, that's already down to poor. Oh my word, that is quite poor. What if we double head it? Okay, what about that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Still classed as poor. But double heading a 5 wagon consist is going to look a bit odd. Now we will double head. We're on easy mode, so let's just go for it. 1.5 million. Let's colour that as well. And then put our train on the line. And there we go. We have our first line set up. It looks like our road vehicles are making their way down to the food processing plant. Hopefully with their first full loads. Yep, there we go. 4 out of 4. So that's working fine. We have a stockpile building up for when they return. So that's great to see. So they'll take a couple of journeys to space themselves out. We could afford to have a lot more wood in this line, actually, looking at it. In fact, why don't we double those up? Let's double all those up. There we go. And at least now we'll have 1 inbound 10 and 1 outbound 10 until they start to space themselves out anyway, of course. What we'll also do quickly is just smooth off the edges of our train lines here. Just where the terrain modifications taking place, just so it's not quite as abrupt as it ordinarily would be. That tunnel there needs replacing because it's used the invisible tunnel, which is a little annoying. I'm going to have to find out if there's a way to change which one is selected by default, because I don't want to have to keep changing it just because I'm forgetting as and when I'm constructing it. We'll wait for the train to pass through, which it now has, and then we'll quickly port. In fact, no, we can keep it running. We've got plenty of time before the train gets back down here to rebuild the tunnel. There we go. Much better. Where's our train gone? There she is in that second tunnel. Let's have a quick look at this train. Oh, let's stay inside the tunnel. So there we have it, the Russian Class 5 Type 1. Clearly a wood-fired train rather than coal. And let's just have a look at the scenery as we emerge from this tunnel, shall we? Let's just get down on the boiler plate somewhere next to the engineer. I must say that's a very nice vista greeting the engineer as he emerges from that tunnel there. Lovely unspoilt countryside. I must say I do enjoy the first initial phases of the map when everything's untouched and the possibilities are endless and you really get to make your mark on the landscape. It is one of my favourite things about this game, starting a new series. It's always very exciting. Just smooth some of this out as well. We've got the We can afford it, and we are on easy mode, so why? Let's just make it look as nice and tidy as we can. Obviously, we want to be careful that we don't undo the map mod author's very hard work, because it looks like he's put a lot of time, or she has put a lot of time, they have put a lot of time into this map. And of course, we don't want to come in and just ruin it. Right, what we're going to do here is just paint that with some grass. There we go, just to hide that little bit of exposed rock, because it looks a little strange. There we go. And now if we can we smooth that again? Not really, no. Doesn't want to smooth that nicely, so we'll keep that like that. That's fine. To be fair, when you're at ground level, it doesn't look too bad. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, I think what we'll do while we're over in Iwo Jima is put down our first bus line for this town, and we'll just have a nice quick loop. And we'll space our stops out nicely. They do have a large catchment area. Like that. And we'll have a 4-stop loop in the town of Iwo Jima. There we go. As we can see, the roads do have Japanese names as well, which is great for immersion. And this will be bus service 01 for Iwo Jima. There we go. Let's get some buses. I say buses, of course they are troikas, and they only carry 3. Well, that's interesting. And we'll have 2 of those. Colour them red, and off they go. I do like this temple here. That's very nice. Yes, I like that. I like that a lot. Lovely. Right, as always, with any series that I do with Transport Fever 2, if you would like to suggest any names for any of our vehicles and the likes, please let me know in the comments below. I do my best to honour any that come through. Whether you want to be have your name featured in the game and have your name lent to one of our vehicles, or whether you can think of something very fitting for one of our vehicles that, you know, doesn't necessarily have to be your name, is what I'm trying to say there, I guess. Just let me know, and as I said, I'll do my best to get them put in for you. It's a nice little way to honour you guys and girls who are subscribed. You know, it's a small gesture, but I think it's a nice gesture. What's going on here? Look at all this traffic. It's absolute chaos in Iwo Jima, folks. Absolute bedlam. It reminds me of the old Malibu advert, if anybody from the UK remembers that. The Jamaican one. The total gridlock one. God, that's going back some years now. It must be about 20 years old, that advert. Yeah. Anyway, if you know what I'm talking about, there you go. If you don't, yeah, just agree with me, I suppose is what we're saying here. Okay, well, I think for our start, we'll leave it here for today. What we will do... Oh, no, that's not even produced yet. We'll send this train on empty and we'll get on board. Oh, it's got some on board already. That's not bad. Yeah, we'll send her on away. We'll jump on board our first train. And we'll get up along... In fact, shall we sit on the bunker? There. Yeah, that's nice. Although that smoke particle's a little bit odd. Yes, and we'll take a ride through into Iwo Jima and take our first proper look at the map and appreciate the scenery of this unspoilt virgin landscape that we're about to decimate with all sorts of train lines and roads and the rest of it. So yeah, let's enjoy this untapped scenery and untapped landscape before we go ahead and just plough through everything, shall we? So I hope you've enjoyed the initial episode. It's a bit slow, and the first few episodes might be a little bit slow. That's somewhat deliberate. I think we'll have this one go at a more gentler, more sedate pace and just take our time. I don't like the way that's clipping through the side of that vehicle there. If you saw that, the cargo looked like it was clipping through. We'll just pretend that didn't happen. Yes, what was I saying? Yeah, a bit more sedate, a bit more relaxed, and just take our time, enjoy the early eras, and then obviously the mid to late Steam era when we get some of the more iconic trains before progressing onto the diesels. And then of course in the end game when we're really opening up. Look at that temple in the distance there in Uwajima. That's fantastic. I'm getting easily. This is brilliant. I love this map. I really do. This is fantastic. So yes, a bit more slow pace this time round. You know, 1/4 speed, maybe 1/2 at a push. You know, really spend a lot of time in each era. Give the trains the time and attention and love that they truly deserve. I hope you're excited for this series. I'm certainly excited. As I say, it's always great when you start a new series, isn't it? A brand new map. There's something special about that, especially a map as beautiful as this. The map author, they're a genius. This is fantastic. I'm loving it. Well, yes, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have done so, hit that thumbs up button down below. Any comments, suggestions, feedback, mispronunciation corrections, train names, anything at all, just, you know, let me know down below. I do read them, and I do respond to those where I believe a response is needed. But for now, all that remains for me to say is, as always, ladies and gentlemen, take very good care of yourselves. Man, look at that shadow on the hillside. It looks like a UFO's coming in, and more we're going into an eclipse. That's bizarre. Anyway, let's just pretend that doesn't happen. And that tree over there on the left clipping and flickering. Very strange. But yes, take very good care of yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Stop highlighting all the little glitches. And it's ta-ta for now.